Mrs. O has another story today that she's going to read from the same book she read to you from the other day, the Dr. Seuss book, The Book Love Seed, and Other Lost Stories. Remember, we talked about stories that Dr. Seuss had written a long time ago, and they were found and then published again for all our enjoyment. Remember, Dr. Seuss likes us to hear words, not just read words. So the story that I chose today is another bit of an adventure story about a little boy who gets a goldfish and doesn't exactly listen to the instructions. And when he doesn't do that, things go wrong, and then he has to have an adventure and try to figure out how to solve the problem. So this story is called, and it goes on the page, Gustav the Goldfish. So here we go. Gustav the Goldfish by Dr. Seuss. The man who sold Gustav the goldfish to us had warned us, take care when you feed this small cuss. Just feed him a spot. If you feed him a lot, then something might happen. It's hard to say what. That's what the man said, so I tried to take care just to feed Gus a pinch. But it never seemed fair, because he always looked sad when he gulped down the stuff, and his eyes seemed to tell me, this isn't enough. And then he'd always blow bubbles as much as to say, come on, don't be stingy. I'm hungry today. Gus had to have food, not a spot, but a lot. No matter what happened, I didn't care what. So finally one day, poor old Gus looked so thin, I took the whole box and I dumped it all in. But the second I did it, I saw I'd done wrong. That fish food, I guess, must be terribly strong. The second Gus ate it, he grew twice as long, he grew twice as thick, and he grew twice as wide. Too big for his fishbowl. Oh my gosh, his tail was outside. Here's some of the illustrations. As you can see now, his tail is outside of the bowl. So he's growing very, very quickly. He was bursting the glass. He was big as a trout. I grabbed for the rose bowl. I yanked the rose out. My mother's best bowl, but I spilled Gustav in it. But what was the use? Because the very next minute, Gustav was bigger, as big as a shad. That's a fish. And he looked through the glass, and he looked mighty mad. And he splashed, and he thrashed, and he burped, and he blew as much as to tell me, I blame this on you. This is your fault, because you fed me a lot. Get me out of here, quick, get me out of this spot. There he is, not too happy. To the back of the house, to the kitchen I ran. I needed more water. I filled up a pan. Poured Gustav in it as fast as I could, but he kept right on growing. It did him no good. I poured him from pot into pot after pot, but the faster I poured him, the bigger he got. Then I ran out of pots. Gustav still grew. Oh, it's awful what one box of fish food can do. He's growing and growing. And there's a problem. Water, more water, he'll die in the air. I raced up the kitchen and up the hall stair. Upstairs to the bathroom, and oh, what a climb, because the fish in my arms grew and grew all the time. Each step he kept groaning and rolling his eyes when I got to the top. He was halibut size. That's another fish. He was almost too big for a fellow to lug, but I got to the bathtub and put in the plug. And I turned on the cold water faucet full blast. Gustav, I panted, you're safe now at last. Gustav, I panted, this tub ought to do. It holds my whole family. It ought to hold you. Think it's going to hold him? I don't know. Big he is now. Whoa, I think he belongs in the ocean. But it didn't hold Gustav. It kept right on. He kept right on growing, and soon the whole bathtub was full, overflowing. And my parents, I knew, would be very upset because the water was making the bathroom quite wet. It was up past my ankles, my knees past my waist, and I saw Father's shaving brush, toothbrush, and paste bobbing around in the ocean. But what could I do? Because Gustav, my goldfish, still grew, and he grew. He was big as a dolphin, a porpoise, a seal. Oh, why did I ever feed Gustav that meal? Just because I was careless and fed him a lot, I would drown in this bathtub as likely as not. Then bang, with a crash and a terrible roar and a splintering smash, we burst right through the door. Gustav and I shot out into the halls and back down the stairs, just like Niagara Falls. Oh no. Down the stairs they go. Look at the size of Gustav. Then the first thing I knew, we were down in the cellar, and Gustav, my fish, was a gigantic feller, too wild and too dangerous to handle alone. I needed some help, so I rushed to the phone and quick dialed the number of Mr. Van Bus, the man who sold Gustav, the goldfish, to us. Come over, please, mister. He's big as a whale. He's banging in the furnace to bits with his tail. Look at the size of him. Oh. I knew, sighed the man, this would happen one day. He hung up the phone and he came right away, with a lot of strange bottles tucked into his vest and a thing on his back like a medicine chest. And he took it down cellar and worked underwater on Gustav for more than an hour and a quarter. There he is. Always the funny-looking guy in Dr. Seuss's books. What he did, I don't know, but he must have been wise, because he shrank Gustav back to his regular size. And he said as he handed my fish back to me, "It was mighty hard work, boy, but this time it's free. If it happens again, I shall charge a big fee, so next time take care." And he stalked through the door. Since then I've fed Gustav so much and no more. Since then I have not fed him more than a spot, 'cause something might happen, and now I know what. So Gustav is back to his size, thanks to the help of Mr. Van Bus. And I think our young man there learned a lesson. Do you know what I miss, boys and girls? I miss how when we would do story time, and I would read, especially when we did rhyming, and you would finish the sentences for me, because you always knew what the right words were. So this is fun to do, but I do miss your voices joining in with me. So I wish you a very happy day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.